Welcome to Mystic Moons. I have just been taking stock of my little plant nursery, and I have my two boy cats. One is here, my second one is somewhere else, and they have been decimating my ponytail palm. Look at that, look how tiny it is. It keeps on getting uprooted too. I've been rooting everything here without, just cutting straight into soil, and they keep on getting disturbed by my two boy cats. Trying very hard to say this is not what you bite. And they are still going at it. Needless to say, there's catnip right here. They don't go after the catnip. They'll be going after the ponytail palm and some other things. Anyway, welcome to Mystic Moons. We have a guest here of Chi. Chi says, I'm here. He says, stuff is happening. And stuff is indeed happening. Politics are really taking center stage more and more acutely as things are not quite as they should be. I wanted to take a closer look into the energy around food stamps. With what's been happening, 2 readings have been done so far. One's a rather short one. It was done in the span of a short. So I didn't go into much detail, but that was one energy that's here. This area, because my cats keep on sleeping on it, and then they keep on pulling plants down from here. I get dirt here all the time now. Such a thing one has to deal with when you have little kitty cats. Little kitty cats hungry for salad when there's none. Anyway, yes, we're going to be looking into the energy around food stamps. Let's keep in mind that with food stamps, it is currency. Those food stamp dollars are at least 12% of a supermarket's overall profit. And even those numbers, I think, were delayed. They didn't really include the times that we're dealing with right now. In the local food pantries around my area, they've been saying that in the 20 years of operation that they've been going through huge increases, double and triple the amount of people that they've been feeding for the past couple years since COVID. They started off before feeding maybe 15,000 people not too long ago, less than 10 years ago, maybe 6 years, maybe 7 years, under 10 years. Under 10 years, over 5. And now that number has swelled into something like 1 million families that they feed. So food insecurity is definitely becoming a thing. It's always been a thing, honestly. And some people are aware of exactly what food stamps means, how to get it, what's required of it. You know, the tricky thing about all of these so called subsidies, yes, there are people who go and game the system. I mean, there is that everywhere. Look at corporate America. There are people who game the system, but there are far more people who actually do need the benefits. And for those benefits, it's actually rather tricky to go and qualify for it. A lot of times people make too much. Even if you don't make too much, perhaps you're paying too much in rent. You could be disqualified purely on the amount of rent that you pay. Isn't that crazy? Or the bills that you um, are responsible for. Anyway, there are rather strict income limits of what you can do to qualify. You make too much, you don't get anything. You make too little, well, maybe you get something. But even then, given the prices of food as well, you're not really bringing home the bank. Maybe if you have multiple household members, you can. You know, when I think about food stamps too, I think about when I was a kid. I had a landlord, and that landlord owned a piece of property. He had a main house that must have been about 5,000 square feet. He had it was a custom built property. And no, I don't think he built it, but it was a custom built property. And in his house, he had it sectioned off into one half a music studio, one half their residential quarters. He ended up having 3 daughters and a wife. And you know, that man also built out on that property, or had built out for him. He built out 3 rental cabins that he charged always tops $1 for. I believe now he's renting it out as Airbnbs, and his price range is something absurd, like, I don't know, 5,000 for the weekend or something like that. Little 1 bedroom to studio sized cabins. And the point is, anyway, this man, with all of his expensive music equipment, he didn't quite register his marriage with his wife. And so she was registered as a single mother. Or they like got married, but then they decided to go and put themselves as separated. They did something. So basically, the income that he got from being a property owner with 3 rental units and, you know, on the road doing his performance gigs was separate from her income as a single mother. And they got WIC and they got SNAP. And he would brag about that. I remember being a little girl once when my mother was going in there to go and pay the rent. And he had his 2 daughters there. One was a little younger than me, one was still in a high chair. And he was bragging about that. He was so proud of how they gamed the system. So, I mean, of course, there are people who do game the system, but there are a lot more people who need it. You know, people in stories like that are not common. The far more common ones are the people who actually require the food stamps in order to go and make ends meet between the work that they have to do and the bills they have to pay. It's a sad thing to play with someone's food, and it's a sad thing to play with someone's shelter. And of course, it's even a sadder thing to talk about who deserves what when we're talking about such basic things as food and shelter. I am going to take a longer look at food stamps by state. But for right now, let's go and see what's going on there. The last reading I did, as I said, it was a short. I didn't really have that much time to go into all the messages I could have. With that short, and especially with that short being, what was it? There was an Ace of Pentacle energy at the bottom. And, part of that energy, besides the fact that, well, with what I said would happen, it also does connotate almost like a revamping or a phase two. Changes are coming. Some sort of change is wanted, which is why they are slowing down this push. Let's find out more about the situation on food stamps, where it's at. What's on the short term, just the general information. And perhaps later we'll do a deeper dive. So let's go and see what is going on right now with food stamps. My boy cat is acting up all behind me though. He chewed on my bird's nest fern. He's bothering one of my other cat's little cubby beds. I may have to stop at some point and lock him up. He's like looking at me every 2 seconds. Do you see? Do you see? He's trolling me. So, let's see the status with food stamps. I actually want one more card. One more deck, rather. I'll choose this one. All right. Let's see the nature of what's going on with food stamps. Page of Wands, Six of Swords. Really heavy negotiations. The stakes are high for what is wanting to happen. Both sides have something they want to gain from this more than just the bringing health care for illegals and probably some other things. There's a larger issue at stake for both sides, a larger bonus. Food stamps is just what they're creating noise about, but it's not the heart of the matter. It's a very useful pawn, a very useful motivator, a very useful button to push. And I do think that this is the loudest. Chi Chi, I see you, Chi Chi. Come up here. Come on. He says, oh, I'm going to go potty now. As he's trolling me. Six of Swords, Page of Wands, as I said before. There's something else going on here. They're creating noise to go and keep us diverted from what is it that they truly want to achieve. They also know, too, that it'll only go so far. They push and push and push to the breaking point, and then they're going to rein it in. It's a game of chicken at this point. Who can maintain their stance of inaction, of inertia, the longest? Who has the most to lose? Who is going to fold first? Three of Wands, Justice, Nine of Pentacles, King of Cups. Yes, in several aspects, we are bankrupt. Of course, if we dial back some of the money that we gave back on the federal contracts, I'm sure that we'd be able to go and recoup some of that money or at least lower their prices, but that's a whole other issue, right? King of Cups, Eight of Pentacles, Nine of Pentacles. If you ask me, there is money here with the government. It's not as broke as what they said. Certain aspects are broke, yes, because they choose it to be. But there's money, and that which they deem valuable, that money, that funding is continuing quite smoothly. It's almost too like their internal operations, that which they value. The bottom of the deck energy here again just really solidifies the fact that there is something else at play, a larger issue they want to achieve. They're willing to go and see who bleeds the most before the other caves. I'm also going to say that in this energy, they're of course not unaware of what's going on and what is disintegrating. But it's a shock they're willing to absorb. Also, too, I'm going to say with Page of Wands energy, think about it. A Page of Wands is a member of the royal court. Out of all the other energies, the king, the queen, the knight, etc. Out of all the other energies, a Page of Wands is really the purest energy, fire out of fire. A strong idea, a bold step. Also, too, one who pushes for innovation. You can't push for innovation strong enough unless you have the guts to see where sticking your foot out is going to land you. They're playing with fire, they're playing with high emotions. They know it, and they're game. So Page of Wands has Five of Swords, the Moon, Nine of Wands with a King of Pentacles. King of Pentacles gets an Page of Cups. It's almost mocking. Oh, very mocking. Well, Three of Wands, Five of Cups, that which you want, but can you get it? But we have mocking here with Nine of Pentacles, Ten of Pentacles. My cards are falling down. Page of Wands and King of Pentacles. The resources are definitely there. The resources are just not for you. It's not worthy yet to invest you. The overtures haven't been made yet in order for it to be deemed worth it being allocated to you. But yes, the money is there. The wealth is continuing. People who are comfortable continuing to be comfortable. That is the bottom of the deck energy. Quite irritating, quite mocking energy there. Pull these cards back in since I read those too. But anyway, we have Five of Swords, the Moon, and Nine of Wands. It's already mentioned that it's a game of chicken here. Who's going to fold first? Who's going to move first? How long can one wait? You know, with the moon and Nine of Wands, this is not endless waiting, especially under a Page of Wands. For a certain time period, they can go and stretch things out. They can stretch things out to the very last moment. They intend to go and take this to the end and make full use now that they've gone this far. Make full use of the opportunity. Make full use of the circumstances that have been created. Five of Swords with a Two of Wands. Six of Cups. And Death. I actually think I'm going to delve a little deeper into this energy. So Two of Wands, Six of Cups, and Death. First of all, Five of Wands, is it tricky? It's meant to be a tricky energy. It's an energy that calls upon innovation. Some things are overt, and just like some things are in your face and quite obvious for all to see, there's a lot going on as well, an equal amount of what's going on as well behind the scenes. You know, in this energy, how somebody has acted before is not how they'll continue to act. This energy calls upon constant innovation, and also to, depending upon how your other people's buttons are pushed, that's how you move and you adjust for what's there. It's manipulation. It's manipulation, and it's also strategic thought process, strategic action. Also, to action towards your own goals. Action that you don't really care about the collateral cost. So with all that energy in mind, Two of Wands with the Five of Swords. Here's someone who is impatient for change. Also, too, thinking of all the avenues of how to go and get that change. But also, too, this is almost very easy. It is very easy energy. How to go and get what one wants in the easiest way possible. What is the trigger button that's going to have the most effect? Who is the most vulnerable that you can hit? Who is the most, what is the most obvious area that you can hit that would cause, that would be high, that just would be visible? And Death. So with Five of Swords here, first of all, this energy here is revamping or disrupting the nature of care, the nature of providing. I don't necessarily see this stopping the energy, which is why we're going to dive into these cards a bit more. Why not? I have time. But what I see here is definitely somebody who is lobbying for change, lobbying to change how we care for others, how we express that care to others. Also to the ones that we express care for, how they are working for us, how can they be utilized? Literally nothing more than pawns. Let's take a closer look at this energy. I'm really curious about Death, actually. What is this change that they're lobbying for, to change the nature of how they provide? It's also, too, like changing how the people who receive care are regarded, but it is changing the nature of how we provide. It's not really stopping the energy that I see here, as I said before, too. It's almost in this energy. If you're in a fight with someone and you notice that they're limping, or you've seen those movies where people are fighting and they already have a wound, and they go and they press down on an open wound to see what they get. It's that kind of energy, just going after all the easy methods, the easy avenues to win. Anyway, death. I know that devil card fell out. We'll see what comes out. I have Ace of Cups. I have King of Swords. And I have the devil. Well, first of all, 8 on their terms. A couple things can be going on here with this 5 of Swords energy. 5 of Swords as we explore death. One is, the next card I'm going to look at is the 2 of Wands. But with this death, one aspect that's here is that, once their daring move has been completed, once they achieve what they want, all they need is just to really achieve very deliberate energy. Ace of Cups, King of Swords, and the Devil. I can do this. I want this. This is most effective. Also, too, in this energy, it's like the person has thought, well, or the group of people have thought, well, normally in order to achieve whatever they want to achieve, normally in order to achieve this, this would take X amount of time. But if we do it this way, if we go after, the puppies and the kittens, we can go and get a much quicker reaction towards our goals. That's all that death is very deliberate. Also, too, easy energy. Continues with that easy energy. Nothing here is about really striving. It's like kicking kittens and puppies. Sick energy, but that's the energy that I have. There was something else I was going to say here with this with this death. Very deliberate energy. Oh, and also we do want a deliberate change. A deliberate change. What is that change? Ace of Cups gets a 9 of Pentacles. That 6 of Wands wants to come out. They know that this is actually the way to go and get what they want. Food stamps is an effective bargaining chip to make the other side, whatever side that may be, cave to what they want. King of Swords gets a 7 of Pentacles. The Devil again. The World. This King of Swords energy has been building and working towards a change. This person wants to change how things are done. This person, too, or this group of people, I say person, but it could be a group of people, obviously, they want to also increase their influence. Before, their work has only gotten them, excuse me, so far. And now they have the perfect opportunity to go and increase their influence. I feel like, too, what's going on here isn't necessarily talking about domestic issues. This all stems towards their global goals, international presence. Also, too, in this energy, whoever is acting or whatever group is acting under this King of Swords energy, they're going to be very visible after this. They could possibly even come out as saviors or as the ones responsible for bringing everything back on track. It's all ego, though, ultimately. That devil gets a 10 of Wands. Magician and Knight of Wands. Even with that bottom of the deck energy we have here is strength and judgment. So, this is a bold move, but they expect this bold move will pay off. A little bit of discomfort, but nothing that they can't use to turn into the right opportunity. They're actually setting up an environment with this death, setting up an environment to implement, do I say a new direction? Or to give strength to a direction that's already been conceived, already the groundwork has been laid out. There's a change they want to go and take this country as a whole. There's a reinvention. I'm actually pretty curious about that. So I'm actually going to leave these cards here. Let's take a look at Two of Wands. Let's see, where did my deck go with this one? That's the deck I'm going to use for the second layer. So, a Two of Wands. Two of Wands gets Queen of Swords. Four of Wands. Page of Cups. Well, first of all, Two of Wands is tired of waiting for the right opportunity. Two of Wands has already been waiting for the right the right set or the right sort of circumstances to finally get, I don't know, some acknowledgement or credence. They're actually looking forward to going doing something new that hasn't been green lit before. It's all about implementing a new way of doing things, a new policy. I feel like too with that Six of Cups here, it's also a new way of perceiving how we care. That's even more apparent too here with a Queen of Swords, Four of Wands, and a Page of Cups. There's criticisms provided with so far. How do we care? How do we care for the families in our system overall? And these are families regardless of if they are receiving benefits or they're not. Because again, think about it. Those food stamp dollars actually translate into dollars into the community. A significant portion of your grocery store's profit comes from food stamps. Even more so if you're in an area where people have no work, part-time work, weekend work, freelance work, or in areas where there have been layoffs or times where they've been layoffs. There are plenty of people who work remote, and they have been cutting down on, first of all, the salaries that they can receive based on where they're located. Definitely. And then just because you are working remote and you get laid off doesn't mean necessarily you can pack up and relocate just like that, especially if you have a household. I don't need to go and dive any more into that page, or excuse me, that two of wands. Let's check out Six of Cups. Six of Cups gets a King of Cups, Judgment, and Temperance. Again, we have some creepy energy here. Nine of Pentacles, Queen of Wands. You know, the provisions are there. The funds are there. The ability to provide is there. Also, too, the ability to distribute it is there. King of Cups, Judgment, and Temperance. It's like a new method of love that wants to be applied. They want to change how they care. And as soon as they change how care is provided, how care is expressed, they'll work on smoothing out all the complaints that have happened thus far. Just a little disruption until they make everything all better. Just a little disruption until they get what they want, get the change, and then business can resume as usual. But that business that's going to resume as usual is simply going to be care that's going to be reinstated. But how it's delivered, now that's a curious energy. So with that in mind, actually I don't think that I have Judgment falling out to Judgment. Wheel of Fortune. And the Devil again. Unity, bottom of the deck energy. Four of Wands again. 10 of Pentacles. All about the household. All about the individual family units. Disillusioning and rebuilding the family units. It's all about control of the home. Impact on the individuals within each family. It's a whole lot of nastiness. So Judgment, Wheel of Fortune, the Devil, again to Judgment. First of all, yes. So rest assured the benefits will come again. There's some crucial changes that are going to happen, though, to how care is provided. It's also, too, in this energy with Devil, Wheel of Fortune, and Judgment. privacy is going to be affected. The ability almost to close your own doors, and the line between public and private. Access that could never be given before, they're going to go and get access to. It's probably its own reading in itself. What exactly is that? Probably I would have to do some more reading as well. Big reading on the news articles that are out there. In between everything else that I've done, I've only touched the subject. I haven't really researched it. But there's something that they want to change here. Change the very foundation of how they give, and also to boundaries are going to be removed. Things are going to get closer. And they're seeing everybody who's affected by food stamps as pawns, everyone who chimes in to the food stamp debacle, raising the symphony of what they're doing. They're building an extreme low to go and bring up an extreme high. They're going to sell it as a gain, as a win, a well deserved one. One that will, they definitely want to do some major long changes to how we operate as a society. You follow along and you'll be provided for. You trust and you be provided for. The energy here with Two of Pentacles, Death, and Five of Pentacles. They're going to change how things are allocated outside of this, how things are distributed. It's almost like who plays the game well and who doesn't. Depending on how well you play the game, depending on how well you engage, then you'll be provided for. Otherwise, you'll be left out in the cold if you don't step in line. Death, Judgment, Devil, Wheel of Fortune, all very prominent energies here. Reoccurring energies here, coming up several times in several decks. All those energies together tell me, which we all know, right? It's not about food stamps. And then with that, the cards that literally reflect the home and the hearth. They're changing the rules of how we provide. There's also more visibility that someone gains from all this. And they will come out like the hero, the one responsible for bringing things back. This person believes, or this group believes, that it's best or it's worth it to go and inflict this pain in order to ensure that they'll have success in the huge changes they want to implement. One could wonder with that Five of Pentacles, Two of Pentacles, and what was it? What was that other energy? Judgment, I believe. Well, one could believe that in that last pull of energy. It's also keeping people closer to the edge of the cliff. Now, we all know that no one is getting rich off of social services, or at least most people are not getting rich off of social services. I mean, again, there are, certain fringe benefits that they have, certain fringe elements that they have worked the system to certain things, the ones that have X amount of kids and they marry out of state, they're recognized as single mothers and blah, blah, blah. But those people too also have the support of their community, support of well-endowed relatives and so forth to do that. They are really extreme, unique, unusual cases. They're not the people that are there funding those supermarkets with anywhere from 12 to 30% worth of their revenue from SNAP. They're not the people who work is so low that they can't afford rent and food and bills all at once. They don't include the people who had medical emergencies and everything got stripped from them as the bills exceeded what they could pay. So we have the moon. Let's find out about this moon. We already know that Five of Swords is about implementing a new policy. And Five of Swords is also fully waiting to come in and provide the relief just as easily and perhaps as quickly too as they provided the pain. Five of Swords provides the pain. Five of Swords says, I have the remedy. I'm just waiting until I get my way for it. And also too, Five of Swords really is, well, we had that devil energy so many times. It is an egotistical energy here. Five of Swords wants to make an impact. Five of Swords wants to create history. Five of Swords wants more visible prominence. Five of Swords wants to make a lasting change in how we provide. The moon I have Emperor, Magician, Knight of Wands, Three of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles, King of Wands, strong fire and earth here. Really strong fire. So Number one, in this energy, I have someone or a group of someones who are operating on faith. We could also say that we're in unprecedented territory here. This has never happened before. And I'm only saying that precisely because we have the moon with all this masculine energy. Also, too, this masculine energy that's responsible for actions, doing, creating, innovating, mediating. What one can do, what one can't do, and also surpassing limitations. So, first of all, we're in uncharted territory. And in uncharted territory, when the rules have relaxed, anything can arise. There's opportunity for anyone given the fact that they take hold of it, which is probably what they hope for as well, that this goes down to both on a larger legislative group action as well as what goes down to an individual action. As they keep on saying, oh, people are going to go into the streets and rob people in the supermarket parking lots. You know, they've given the space for that here. But really, what we should be talking about, and they're not, what are the people that have the strength, the more strength? What are they doing during this sort of free for all? It's not only just you can go into the supermarket and hold people up. What are the people who already have power? What kind of moves are they making to gain more power? Because in this energy, provided you put out the effort, and I really get aggressive movement here, provided you put out the aggressive effort, the aggression, you push forward, you can gain power that you were not able to gain before. You know, in chaotic energy, chaos can flip either way. I'd also say in this energy too, it's not only just like the government bodies that are making use of this to go and gain power. Probably even to the stores and the supermarkets in their own way are gaining power. They can raise up the prices. They will be raising up the prices. Prices, I mean, what has it been already? 1 week? Over a week? Over a week of lack of revenue? We're all going to see that reflected in the prices that we pay. But here, the main thing here is that it's just not, as they like to go and say, oh, the chaos that's going to happen in the streets. That's just a really small example. I encourage you to look at what your business leaders are doing. And everywhere from, let's say, the supermarkets to even those people that produce equipment for supermarkets and food services, the farms and the distributions, the government entities, business leaders outside of food, the people who have wealth in your community. This is a power grab that everyone, depending upon how much muscle they can flex and how, they're going to gain. And that's what this energy, this time period, is precisely here to allow for. I'm not going to say how much of a bully you can be to get what you want, but again, it is very aggressive energy. Very cruel energy. Not nice energy to be in, of, or around. Nine of Wands. Nine of Wands gets the star. High Priestess. And Five of Cups. Really, really cold energy all the way through. You know, the more chaos happens, the better. Because also, too, that chaos is not going to go and affect those who already have in a negative way. Maybe it will at a later point. That's energy that I'm not going to pull on. That'll be a whole other reading. I mean, there's certain elements and messages that we got here already that we could dive into. But again, in the interest of time, we're not going to. But essentially, this whole situation is meant for discord. Also, too, they want to make sure they put some permanent wedges in between people, between businesses, the businesses and their customers, neighbor against neighbor, those who have against those who have less. Also, too, we could say with Ace of Swords, lots of judging, lots of value judgments. And the more that bitterness and acrimony, I am saying it wrong, just momentary brain lapse, ACRIMONY. That's the word I want to say. Well, as that energy, that acidicness, even there, I can't say it, acidic, whatever, the acid, the unpleasantness, the sourness, okay, we'll go down to simpler words as my vocabulary is failing me rather. Well, it's been about an hour. Basically, as people get more sour to one another, it's really furthering the goals of the people who have the power and the people who have the power to stop it, the people who are still quite comfortable. And I really do think this is part of obviously a greater plan. They want division. They're also using this right now to almost form as a lasting reminder. I mean, are you going to go and forget, regardless if you're for it or against it? Although, how can you be against someone literally feeding themselves? It's beyond me. But anyway, regardless if you're for it or against it, and again, it's their business. I mean, they pay into it. All of our taxes pay into society, but the same thing with the business leaders. Look at what they're paying and the cutoffs they're getting. But again, a whole other story. But they're wanting the sourness that builds up. Oh, those people have it too easy. Oh, those people are relishing in our insecurity. Those people are heartless. Those people don't understand, won't understand, don't care to understand. Well, you know, someone up there who's very well endowed, more than any of us, is very happy that their plan of divisiveness and division is working out. And enough bad words, enough bad energy is being spread all the way around that when this gets rectified, it's not going to necessarily be forgotten nor forgiven. This is just one of the fractures, one of the needed fractures in America's class divisions, in America's society, in the demographics that form up each neighborhood. To be resentful of each other and not work together. nasty energy. And this Nine of Wands is basically about sacrifice. Star, High Priestess, Five of Cups. You know, how much can they cause pain before action is forced to happen? Again, we have that waiting game, that chicken game. Who will break first? You know, it's worth it for the greater goal, their greater goals, their hopes, dreams, and aspirations to go and have some sacrifice, some collateral. But in this energy, whoever is behind this and facilitating this, they believe that it's worth it for the changes that they believe our country needs to have. I could go a little bit more into this, although it is rather unpleasant. Let's take a look at High Priestess. High Priestess has a Knight of Cups, Eight of Swords, Queen of Pentacles. So, first of all, High Priestess is frustrated. High Priestess has tried all the other ways to go and get ahead, all the other ways to find success. A High Priestess, whoever has been in this energy, they have, or they feel like prior they have done things by the books, or they have made the proper overtures or proper enough overtures to start having some traction to their vision. This is the energy that they've gone by traditional routes, and by these traditional routes, it could be legislation. It could also be getting a lot of, especially with Knight of Cups and Eight of Swords energy, sweetheart deals, lobbying, promises. Promises in which they delivered somewhat on their part, and the other people or the other parties or the other actions they expected to happen, if they happened, could be in this energy too, they didn't happen fast enough, didn't happen big enough. If they happened at all, this person has a chip on their shoulder. They feel like they gave a lot, they worked a lot, and people who they counted on didn't pull their weight, didn't do what they said they would do. But no matter, it is going to take a stronger stance. And again, as I said, they're attacking the family. They're attacking a core sentiment, a core aspect of what provides safety to people. And actually dive into that High Priestess a bit more. High Priestess has a Two of Cups, King of Swords again, and Eight of Pentacles again, Knight of Pentacles. And again, we have the message that the resources are there. The resources have to be redistributed, reallocated. The system has to have change. And their change, their vision of change, is not being acknowledged, not being greenlit. to be carried out. They've been talking about this change, lobbying for the change, getting good feedback from the change, but all they're getting really is just that feedback, the hard action that they've been waiting for. They have not gotten. Also, too, in this energy, the party behind this energy, the people behind this energy very much believe that what they're doing is in the best interest of all. Seven of Pentacles, Seven of Cups with a Knight of Pentacles. They believe that their ideas, their vision that has been slow crawled by the supporters they have, they believe that it's a really good idea. It has legs. It's a good thing. That's the belief here with High Priestess. Additional energy I have here, Two of Cups, King of Swords, Eight of Pentacles. You know, High Priestess essentially says, just work with me on this and we'll make it all better. We will create solutions to the problems that have been created. Also, Two of Cups, King of Swords, Eight of Pentacles. Under this energy, follow my ideas. Join me and follow my ideas. This person also wants more public support from whomever they have been working with. Definitely, it's an issue of visibility here. With a star. Star gets Page of Pentacles. Eight of Wands. Nine of Cups. Oh, really lousy energy, though. And of course, all this is under a Nine of Wands. Star under this energy, just work with me. All you have to do is accept my offer. All you have to do is work with me, say the word. And once you agree, we'll make everything better so fast. So fast. It'll be as if, well, not quite nothing's happened, but so fast it will make everybody happy. They have the power, they're sitting on the power for that very specific type of change they want. Should we even go into Five of Cups? Under a Nine of Wands? I don't need to. Five of Cups under Nine of Wands, and this energy is basically this group, this person, they've felt like they've already sacrificed so much. A lot of their plans have already gone by the wayside. Just as the 42 million Americans are hurting with the loss of food stamps, they say that they also have pain similar to that. They're not really empathizing so much as going, yeah, I know, because of my well, as I said, whatever this High Priestess is with that sweetheart lobbying that's been going on, whatever I have been striving for and have not yet reached, I am disappointed that it had to come to this. I am disappointed that you could not see what I have been trying to do, what I've been trying to sell, what I've been trying to lobby through. That's all that that's all that Nine of Wands is with Five of Cups. Just disappointed that right now it's come to this, and that too they've had to take such drastic steps, not so much for the harm that it is inflicting on just our morale as a nation overall. Just the whole fact of not being recognized and appreciated, that's the energy that I have here. So it's a little bit into the current energy around food stamps. I know I have some reading to do because there's a lot of things that are going on here, and there is a very specific agenda that's being pushed. As soon as they get the green light for that, all the floodgates of support will come back. I do see some changes in there. Those changes have to be looked at with a closer lens. They are fundamental differences to how the country has been running thus far. Here's someone or a group of people that want to make history. And they're going to ensure that they do. The more money someone has, the more power they have. I would take a closer look at them. They're the ones to watch, not your neighbors who may or may not be getting food stamps.